Hey everybody, this is David, MSOM 612, coming to you today from Halong Bay in northern Vietnam. This is a absolutely stunning place outside, about 3 hours outside of Hanoi, and perhaps you have seen pictures of Halong Bay. They have these limestone formations. There are probably, I don't know, thousands of these things here coming up out of the bay, and perhaps you've seen them in photographs or James Bond movies or other things, but just standing on the deck today, navigating or watching the captain navigate his way into this bay today was fantastic. It was absolutely stunning. If you ever get a chance, again, make sure you check this out. I wanted to say congratulations, you finished week one. I think we had a great first week, and you'll be seeing my comments on your discussions and papers here very shortly. And I just wanted to review lesson one for you, and then preview lesson two for you as we move forward, talking about business strategy. And so this week, the application that you have the discussion board where we introduced ourselves. And again, I think most of you probably know each other by now. And it's nice of you to put that back down so that we can get reacquainted, because for most of you, it's been a few months since you and I've talked to each other via the class. So again, I appreciate you doing that. This week's application was really talking in general, and I tried to explain that up front. I really didn't want you to get too specific with that. But just to begin to recap the 6 parts of a strategic plan that we had from the readings this week. And it's important to understand those generally before you begin to apply them specifically. And so what I really wanted you to do was to take a look at those and to gain a real grasp on why each one of those 6 components are incredibly important as you do a strategic plan for a company. Now, the one thing I do want to share with you is this works the same way regardless of the industry or the company that you select. And so, when you begin to look at these 6 different parts, you don't have to say, okay, I need to change this up a little bit. I need to change my overall general strategy if it's in healthcare versus some other business or a nonprofit, a church, or so on. Because the same type of general process applies, which is why I like this strategy the most, because again, regardless of where you work, there are some applications for this particular use of a 6-step process for strategic planning. Now, just so you know, and this will flow into the course project discussion as well, the 6 steps here, we're going to take a look, first of all, at an external analysis. So before you even begin, obviously you'll do an overview of the company and those types of things. But don't get too in depth on that one. It's really, what type of business they're in and those types of things. But the external analysis is focused on different types of impacts that are out there, governmental impacts, technological impacts, things that affect a global look. And so, there are things as it relates to the economy, there are things as it relates to different levels of competition, regulation. I mean, think about that. I'll use an example. Think about that today, and if you have anything to do with gasoline or the oil industry, man, you're in tough shape right now because of the global price of oil and the global impact of that right now. And so you begin to look at, the first place you look at is what is the external environment looking at and doing before you get into too many specifics about that company. And so the first step that you will have in number one is looking at the external environment. Now, in here I've provided many different avenues, many different tools for you to look at the external environment. There are many different measurements, and so I would encourage you as you begin to look at building this in your course project for the company that you've selected, that you use one of those. I mean, you can certainly use some of the different application methods that are there in that toolkit as well. So don't forget about the toolkit ebook, because they have some very, very good sources that you can use going forward. So external analysis first. Then the next week you're going to be building on the internal analysis. So what's going on inside the company? And so again, it's very important to look at what's happening on the outside, but then you have to bring it inside. Do they have the right type of structure? What type of strengths and weaknesses do they have inside of the company? Are there any inherent issues with the brands that they currently have? What's the product life cycle look like on the products or services that they sell? So first external, next internal. And out of those two looks, you're going to develop some strategic issues, which is the third area. And hopefully you're going to have a list of these. And again, every company, regardless of how successful they are, currently have some strategic issues. Those strategic issues, again, could be external strategic issues because of economy, government regulation, technology, those types of things. Or they can be internal issues that says, they're not very creative. They have old brands that no longer are working in the marketplace. They have outdated services. They haven't embraced technology the way that they should, and so on and so on and so on. So out of that, you're going to have a list of strategic issues that you will identify for this company in the strategic plan. Now, here's the interesting thing. As you develop those strategic issues, what I've found in companies is sometimes companies will say, oh, here are all our problems, here are all our issues, but then they forget to develop any, number 4, strategic alternatives. So out of the issues should be driving alternatives. So if you don't have an alternative for an issue, then you really haven't done your job very well. And so strategic issues lead to, number 4, strategic alternatives. Now, here's the interesting thing with this. As you look at strategic alternatives, you're going to have a laundry list of those different things that company can do to address the strategic issues that you've identified by doing the external and the internal analysis. So those strategic alternatives will be listed. Okay, so that's 4. But here's the sad thing. You don't have time, energy, effort, resources to be able to address all of those. And so a good strategic planner, a good strategic consultant will identify those strategic alternatives, but outside of that, you're going to have to prioritize those. And so there needs to be a strategic priority that you will set in number 5 in strategic planning. And then number 6 is implementation. Too often, companies get really excited about their strategic plan and they forget to implement it. They forget to put an implementation plan together to help address all of the work that they've done by identifying the external and internal issues, by coming up with some strategic issues, by determining and working on the alternatives, and then by funneling down, if you will, those strategic alternatives into strategic ideas and recommendations. And so they do all that, and then they forget to implement them. And so the implementation plan is very, very important as it relates to strategic planning. And so that is actually step 6 in this process. And so just remember that as you're going through. Hopefully in the course project outline I've provided for you, I've been very clear on those, and also in the text that we're using as our background for the strategic plan. And this 6-step process, again, will work regardless of the industry that you're in. Okay? So hopefully that helps you a little bit understand the importance, the process of the 6-step strategic plan. All right, that's kind of lesson 1, what I wanted to share with you. Lesson 2 starts off with a discussion where you're going to identify some external forces that are out there, and that again ties in with the first thing that you're going to be looking at as an external analysis. And so my hope is that you're able to tie in, and I hope you see this in all the classes, the discussions as well as the readings ties in to what I'm asking you to do in the course project. And so last week when I mentioned to you, I've rebuilt this course and I tried to put all these pieces together. There's a method to the madness there, and I hope you see that. So you'll identify external forces that'll give you an idea of the things to look at as you're developing those items for your course project. Then the application talks about Porter's 5 forces. You'll see I use a lot of Michael Porter's stuff. Michael Porter is sort of the guru on strategic planning. And so the 5 forces model is one that he developed many years ago. and I think it certainly is very applicable today. And then when you move down to your course project, the second thing that you'll submit for me on your course project, remember in lesson 1 you're just kind of doing an overview. You got the cover page, you're doing the overview. I've talked to you and sent back, or will send back information to you on that. Here in lesson 2 you really begin to get into the nuts and the bolts of the strategic analysis for that company. So you're going to be looking at the external analysis, hopefully, and perhaps using Porter's 5 forces, or you're using some of the other information found in the toolkit to provide an external analysis. Now, the one thing I do want to encourage you to do, don't be general in your course project. Almost look at this as if you're a consultant and you've been given the opportunity to work for this company, to analyze this company, their external issues, their internal issues, come up with some strategic ideas, narrow those strategic ideas down, provide a recommendation at the end, and then provide an implementation plan for those strategic initiatives. Okay? Hope you had a wonderful week. Again, I'm accessible regardless of where I am. Have actually had really good internet, even though it's satellite on the ship. And so I encourage you, if you need to chat with me about that, please do so. As I mentioned, this is a very small class. I'm getting involved in the discussion boards. Make sure that you feel comfortable to respond to me if I say something that may be compelling or generates a response. All right, have a great week. Keep studying. Talk to you soon.